Hi there, and welcome to Ku English. In this series, we explore the lives of amazing people and help you improve your English at the same time. Ready? Let's dive in. Hermann Hesse, Education, Ideas, and Inner Conflict. Part 2. Chapter 1. Learning Outside the Classroom. When Hermann Hesse entered his early 20s, his life still lacked stability, but it had gained a fragile sense of direction. He no longer believed that formal education held the key to wisdom. The wounds left by Maulbronn had not healed, and institutions continued to represent confinement rather than growth. Yet learning itself, deep, self-directed, and often solitary, had become more important than ever. Working as a bookseller in Basel placed Hesse in daily contact with literature. Unlike school, the bookshop did not demand obedience, it offered choice. He could move freely between shelves, selecting works according to curiosity rather than curriculum. Over time, this freedom reshaped his intellectual life. He read widely and without haste. German Romanticism spoke to his emotional depth, especially writers who valued individuality and inner truth. Goethe remained a lifelong presence, admired not only for his literary mastery, but for his ability to unite art, science, and self-reflection. Hölderlin's tragic intensity resonated deeply, echoing Hesse's own sense of fragility. At the same time, Hesse encountered thinkers who challenged inherited beliefs. Nietzsche's writings struck him like a shock. Here was a voice that questioned Christian morality, social conformity, and the suppression of instinct. Nietzsche did not offer comfort, he offered confrontation. For Hesse, this was both liberating and dangerous. The faith of his childhood began to crack, yet nothing solid replaced it. Eastern philosophy entered his life gradually, first as curiosity, later as serious engagement. Texts influenced by Buddhism and Hindu thought suggested a different relationship between self and world, one less bound by guilt and rigid morality. These ideas would not fully mature until later, but the seeds were planted during this period of restless reading. Despite this intellectual awakening, Hesse remained emotionally unstable. Knowledge did not protect him from doubt. In fact, the more he read, the more fragmented his inner world became. He felt torn between traditions, between belief and skepticism, between the longing for unity and the reality of division. Learning had freed him from institutional authority, but it had also removed clear direction. He was no longer following a path laid out by others. He was wandering, guided only by instinct, intuition, and an unsteady inner compass. Chapter 2. First Books, Early Doubts, and the Fear of Failure. Hesse's first serious attempts at prose writing emerged from this period of uncertainty. He had already published poetry, but poetry alone no longer seemed sufficient. He wanted to tell stories, stories shaped by inner conflict rather than external events. His early novels and short stories were quiet, introspective, and often overlooked. Publishers showed limited interest. Critics, when they noticed him at all, were uncertain how to categorize his work. He did not fit easily into literary movements of the time. His writing lacked political ambition and avoided dramatic realism. Instead, it turned inward, focusing on moods, dreams, and emotional states. This marginal position fed Hesse's doubts. He questioned his talent and purpose repeatedly. Unlike some writers driven by confidence or ambition, Hesse wrote while constantly fearing that he had chosen the wrong path. Financial insecurity made these fears sharper. Writing did not promise stability, and he often depended on modest salaries and family support. During this time, Hesse also struggled with relationships. He longed for intimacy, but found emotional closeness difficult. His sensitivity made him easily wounded, while his introspection often created distance. He observed himself with almost painful honesty, noting his weaknesses without knowing how to change them. The fear of having gone astray haunted him. He had rejected theology and institutional education. He had not embraced a conventional profession. Writing, his chosen path, offered no guarantees. At moments, he wondered whether his rebellion had been nothing more than stubbornness, whether obedience might have led to a quieter, safer life. Yet, even in doubt, he continued, writing had become inseparable from his identity. When he stopped writing, his inner world collapsed into confusion and despair. When he wrote, even poorly or without recognition, something aligned within him. This persistence, quiet, uncertain, and uncelebrated, was itself a form of commitment. Hesse was not chasing success. He was trying to remain faithful to an inner necessity he barely understood. Chapter 3: Love, Marriage, and a Deepening of Inner Conflict. In 1904, Hesse married Maria Bernoulli, a photographer from a respected intellectual family. On the surface, the marriage suggested stability and social integration. They settled in the countryside near Lake Constance, surrounded by nature. Hesse cultivated a garden, wrote regularly, and appeared to have found balance. Yet harmony remained fragile. Marriage did not resolve Hesse's inner conflicts. It intensified them. Domestic life demanded presence, responsibility, and emotional availability. Hesse, however, remained deeply inward-focused. He needed solitude not as luxury, but as survival. The tension between family life and inner necessity grew steadily. During these years, his literary reputation began to improve. Novels such as Peter Commensand gained attention and readership. For the first time, Hesse experienced public recognition, yet success brought little peace. Instead of satisfaction, he felt pressure, expectations from readers, publishers, and society. The contradictions multiplied. He was now a respected author, yet he still felt like an outsider. He had a family, yet he often felt alone. He had achieved what he once dreamed of, yet the sense of belonging remained absent. These tensions affected his mental health. Periods of depression returned. He questioned not only his role as a writer, but his role as a husband, a father, and a citizen. The ideals he had inherited no longer held authority, but the alternatives remained unclear. By the end of this phase, Hesse stood at a threshold. His awakening, intellectual, emotional, and artistic, had stripped away illusions without offering resolution. The questions he faced were no longer personal alone. They reflected broader conflicts of modern life: individuality versus conformity, inner truth versus social role. The stage was set for crisis and for transformation. In the next part, these inner struggles would collide with historical upheaval, personal breakdown, and the moments that finally pushed Hesse toward his most important work. Thanks for learning with Ku English. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time.